Most people change their bird's water every single day and still wonder why the bird looks tired, preens less, and seems old before its time. The water looks clean, and that is exactly the problem, because what is missing from it is quietly doing more damage than anything that could be in it. So, what is the one thing you can add to your bird's water this evening that costs less than a cup of coffee, sits in most people's kitchens already, and could add years to your bird's life? And why has almost nobody told you about it? 6 in the morning. I am sitting at my kitchen table with a mug of tea I have not touched yet, and I am watching my bird. His name was Charlie, a green budgie, 7 years old, and he is sitting at the bottom of his cage instead of on his perch, feathers puffed out, eyes half shut, not sick in a way I could put my finger on, not well enough to be himself either. I had been keeping birds for 22 years by that point. Budgerigars, cockatiels, a pair of rosellas for a few years in my 30s. I knew the basics: fresh water every morning, clean bowl, quality seed mix, cuttlebone, a piece of fresh vegetable a few times a week. I was doing everything the pet store told me to do and everything the online forums told me to do. Charlie was still declining. Not fast, slowly, the way things go when there is no obvious cause and no obvious fix. Just a gradual dimming, like watching a good torch run low on batteries. The vet found nothing specific. Aging, he said. Give it time. Keep doing what you were doing. I kept doing what I was doing. Charlie died at 8. For a budgie with decent care, that is on the short end of things. Wild budgerigars in the outback live to 15. Well-kept birds in good homes regularly reach 10, 12, sometimes more. 8 is not a disaster, but it stayed with me, because I could not shake the feeling that I had missed something obvious, something I was doing every single morning without thinking about it, filling that water dish. Tap water. Cold, clear, clean. I never once questioned it. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. It took me 2 more birds and about 4 years of reading before I found the thing I had missed. And once I found it, I could not believe how simple it was, or how long I had been walking straight past it every time I went to the kitchen cupboard. But before I tell you what it is, I need to tell you something about water that most bird owners have never been told. Because if you do not understand this part, the rest of it will not make sense. The question that stayed with me after Charlie was this: if I am changing the water every morning, if the bowl is clean, if the water looks and smells fine, why is it still working against the bird? Here is what I found. The problem with tap water is not what is in it, it is what is not in it. Think about where birds drink in the wild: a creek, a clay puddle, a low branch where rainwater has collected and sat long enough to pick up minerals from the bark underneath it. Water that has rolled over rocks and red soil and decaying leaf matter for kilometers before a bird ever touches it. That water is alive in a way that the water from your kitchen tap is not. It carries trace minerals: iron, magnesium, potassium, manganese, in amounts so small you would never taste them. It carries naturally occurring microorganisms that colonize the bird's gut and help it digest food, absorb nutrients, and fight off infection. It carries plant compounds from the vegetation it has moved through. None of that is in tap water, and that is by design. Tap water is engineered for human consumption. It is filtered, treated, and sanitized to a standard that removes what would make a person sick. It also removes what a bird's gut has depended on for millions of years of evolution. The chlorine that kills waterborne bacteria in city pipes does not know the difference between the bacteria that causes illness and the bacteria that keeps a small bird's gut working the way it should. It kills both every morning, one clean bowl at a time. I am not telling you tap water is poison. It is not. A bird will survive on tap water. Plenty do. But surviving is not the same as thriving. And the difference between a bird that lives 8 years and one that lives 12 is often hiding in something as quiet and invisible as what is missing from the dish you rinse out and refill every morning without a second thought. The supplement companies have an answer for this: a $40 bottle of probiotic drops from the avian vet, a $120 water filtration system, a mineralizing cartridge you replace every 3 months. All of those things work on the problem. None of them are necessary. Because there is something that restores a significant part of what tap water strips away, costs $7, lasts 3 months at the dose I am going to give you, and has been used in animal husbandry for well over a century. It is raw apple cider vinegar, not the clear filtered kind you see in the salad dressing aisle. The raw, unfiltered kind with what the label calls the mother. The mother is the colony of beneficial bacteria and enzymes that forms naturally during fermentation. It looks like a murky sediment floating at the bottom of the bottle. People who have not seen it before think the vinegar has gone off. It has not. That cloudiness is the active part, the part that actually does the work. The brand most people in Australia will recognize is Bragg. Dark glass bottle, paper label, says raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar with the mother on the front. You can find it in the health food aisle of any major supermarket. Woolworths usually stocks it. So does Kohl's in most stores. Harris Farm, any health food shop. $6 to $9 a bottle. At the dose I use, 1 bottle will last the average household the better part of 3 to 4 months. Here is exactly how you use it. The first thing to sort out is the base water. You do not need a filtration system. The simplest approach costs nothing. Fill a jug or a large glass the night before. Leave it uncovered on the bench overnight. Chlorine is a volatile compound. It off-gasses. By morning, a significant amount of it has simply evaporated out of the water. If you want to be more thorough about it, you can bring the water to a boil and let it cool completely before you use it. Boiling drives off chlorine faster and also removes some of the other additives that vary, depending on where your council sources its water. Let it cool to room temperature. That is your base. Do that tonight. It takes 30 extra seconds. The second thing is the ingredient itself. Into 1 liter of that base water, add 1 measured teaspoon of raw apple cider vinegar with the mother. Not a tablespoon, not a rough capful, a measured kitchen teaspoon. The dose matters, and this is the detail most people get wrong when they read about this online. Too much and the water becomes acidic enough to irritate the lining of the bird's crop over time. Too little and the beneficial bacteria you are introducing never reach a meaningful concentration in the gut. 1 teaspoon per liter. You offer this water 2 to 3 times a week, not every day. The gut needs days without the intervention, just as you would not take a strong probiotic supplement 7 days a week indefinitely. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is the schedule I settled on. Plain base water on the other days. The third thing is the bowl itself, and this is the step that most people skip, which quietly undoes everything else they are doing right. Use glass or stainless steel, not plastic. Apple cider vinegar is mildly acidic, not aggressively so. But over days and weeks of contact with a plastic drinking bowl, it begins to leach the plasticizers from the surface of the plastic into the water sitting inside it. You are adding something beneficial and simultaneously drawing something harmful in from the container. A small glass ramekin works perfectly. So does a stainless steel water dish. Both are easy to clean, do not harbor bacteria in the micro scratches that build up in plastic over time, and do not interact chemically with the ACV. A set of small stainless steel bowls from a kitchen supply shop or online costs about $5. They will outlast every plastic drinker you have ever bought. The fourth thing is timing. Offer the ACV water in the morning when the bird is most active and most likely to drink freely. Leave it in the cage for a maximum of 4 hours. Then swap it out for plain water for the rest of the day. Fresh ACV water in a clean bowl is active and beneficial. A CV water that has been sitting in a warm cage through the afternoon with seed husks and feather dust floating in it is a different thing entirely, and you do not want to offer that. 4 hours is more than enough. The bird will drink what it wants in that window. The fifth thing is knowing what to look for. Within 2 to 3 weeks of starting this, you are watching for 3 specific things. First, the droppings. They should become more consistent. Less liquid urate, better formed, more regular. This tells you the gut is processing food more efficiently, which means the microbiome is recovering. Second, activity level. The bird should spend more time on the upper perches of the cage and less time sitting hunched low. This is often the first change people notice. Third, preening. Not the frantic, anxious over-preening that signals stress or feather-destructive behavior. The calm, methodical preening of a bird that feels well in itself. These are not dramatic changes. They come quietly, but they are real and consistent enough that if you are paying attention, you will see them. I saw all three in the bird I kept after Charlie, a young cockatiel I got from a breeder in the Hills district of Sydney, within about 3 weeks of starting this routine. She is still alive, still yelling at me when I come through the front door. Here is the part that is worth sitting with for a moment. Most bird illness that is not caused by a direct infection or injury traces back to gut health. Respiratory problems, feather-destructive behavior, persistent low energy, poor condition of new feathers coming in after a molt, unusual susceptibility to bacterial infections, all of these have a gut health component that is rarely discussed in a standard vet consultation. The gut is where a bird's immune system lives. The microbiome of the digestive tract regulates not just digestion but immune response, the ability to fight inflammation, and even the regulation of stress hormones that affect behavior. A bird with depleted gut flora from years of chlorinated water is a bird whose immune system is operating below capacity. It will not necessarily look acutely sick. It will just age faster than it should. Recover more slowly when something does go wrong. Have less reserve when illness or environmental stress arrives. What the raw apple cider vinegar with Mother does is reintroduce beneficial bacteria and enzymes into the gut environment. It mildly acidifies the digestive tract in a way that suppresses harmful bacteria while creating conditions that beneficial bacteria prefer. It is not a cure for anything. It is maintenance, the equivalent of eating well and sleeping enough. And it has been used in commercial poultry farming for a very long time for exactly this reason. Not as a health trend, but as a practical tool that experienced producers found extended productive lifespan and reduced illness rates in their flocks. The old aviary breeders who ran 40, 50, 60 birds without a vet on speed dial knew a version of this. They saw that birds on rainwater or well water in mineral-rich country areas lived longer and bred more reliably than birds in cities on treated water. They did not have the word microbiome. They had something better. They had 40 years of watching closely and remembering what they saw. That knowledge is almost gone. The pet industry does not make money from a $7 bottle of apple cider vinegar that lasts 3 months. It makes money from supplements, treatments, replacements, and consultations. I am not dismissing vets. I have a good one and I rely on her. But the conversation about water quality and gut maintenance almost never comes up in a consultation room because it was not part of the curriculum and it does not generate a billing code. What I am giving you now is the thing that should come before the supplement, before the specialist, before the expensive intervention. It should be the first thing. For most birds in most households, it is the last thing anyone thinks of. Tonight, here is what I want you to do. Fill a jug with tap water and leave it on the bench. Tomorrow morning, pour 1 liter of that water into a glass or stainless steel bowl. Add 1 level teaspoon of Bragg raw apple cider vinegar with the mother. Shake or stir gently so the sediment distributes. Offer it to your bird for the morning. Remove it after 4 hours. Do this on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next 3 weeks. Then come back here and tell me in the comments what bird you have, how old it is, and what you notice. I have been collecting these accounts for a while now. The pattern is consistent enough that I will tell you plainly. This is one of the simplest things you can do for a bird in captivity and one of the most overlooked. The birds that live longest are almost always kept by people who pay close attention to water. Not the cage setup, not the toy rotation, not the seed variety, the water. The thing that gets changed every morning and never questioned. Next time, I am going to show you the one thing most bird owners have inside their cage right now that is slowly damaging their birds' feet. It is sold in every pet store in Australia. It is recommended on the packaging. It looks completely harmless, and almost nobody identifies it as the source of a problem they have been trying to fix for years. Come back for that one. It will change how you set up a cage.